Welcome to the brand new Volvo C40. Underneath it is the same as the Volvo XC40, but with a slightly different body and a lower roofline. And this is the twin engine, which means that it has 408 combined horsepower, 660 Nm of torque, does 0 to 100 km/h in 4.7 seconds. Maximum charging speed of 170 kilowatt and a claimed range of 437 kilometers. Actually, it has a longer claimed range by a couple of kilometers than the single engine Volvo C40. Interesting to note, the battery is 75 kilowatt hours of usable battery, which puts it evenly with the rest of the competition. This is a mid-sized SUV crossover, and there are heaps of cars in this category to choose from. So the question is, of course, is the Volvo C40 the Volvo that you should take, since you have the XC40 and the Polestar 2, which has the exactly same base plate? And does it hold a candle to the rest of the competition? That is what we're going to find out in this review of the Volvo C40. There are 3 spec options to choose from: Core, the Plus and the Ultimate. The Core gives you a lot of options. It gives you cruise control, not adaptive, since that comes in the Plus, but it gives you the panoramic sunroof, it gives you the entire car, and it gives you a lot of options from the get-go. These rims are an extra option, the paint as well is an extra option, but the Plus gives you the adaptive cruise control, it gives you these pixel LEDs, so you have several LEDs that can illuminate different areas in front of you, so illuminate a speed sign and so on. The Ultimate gives you fully adjustable passenger and driver seat, pilot assist, so it really tries to help you to keep you in the lines and so on. I'll talk more about how that functions in the real world later. 360-degree cameras and a premium hardened cardinal surround system with an extra subwoofer. So the Ultimate actually gives you a lot of extra features, but then again, the Core gives you the car, and maybe that is what you want. Inside you have an extra option fabric for the seats, so it is almost microfiber, but it is actually completely vegan interior if you're interested in that aspect. But we'll talk about the entirety of the exterior, and of course the rear is where most of the changes had been done to the Volvo C40, and actually it looks more similar, or it looks very similar to the Polestar 2, but it's a bit higher up and have more of that SUV look, or SUV coupe 4-door-ish look. The XC40 is definitely a crossover standard SUV, but I do like these more aggressive rear lights, and you can see that here there are 1, 2, 3, 4 areas that light up and create a really nice visual look of it. Do I like this more than the Polestar 2? Well, I think the Polestar 2 has more of a sedan exterior, while this is feels a bit higher up. But of course, since it is an electric car, you have a blocked front grille, but you have some inlets for the AC and so on. Front, and if you follow the arrow of the Volvo, you will find the door latch. Interesting little hidden detail. Very simple. Top of the fluids for cleaning the windows, and a little frunk that has charging cables. Not that big of a frunk, but then again you have engines underneath. We'll check the luggage compartment. Nice flat floor, easy to get stuff in and out. Decent, probably in the same class as its competition, but I'll just make a small summary here on the screen. A little spoiler here, and this should theoretically be more fuel efficient or energy efficient than the XC40, since this shape is more aerodynamic. But this is a quite small window, and the view to the rear or rearwards is really bad. But I'll talk with that in a second. All right, my knees do fit. I have a lot of foot space, but look at this two-tone design, blue as on the outside, a lot of plastic, actually a lot of plastic. I wasn't expecting that much plastic, and the material on these sides is different compared to the front, and the ones in the front are a bit special. I'll talk about them of course a bit later when I get to the driver's seat. Feels rather cheap in the rear, but you have an enormous panoramic sunroof that goes almost back, and I do fit with my head just. Let's go into the driver's seat. And being an electric car, the car is on, there's no on and off button. This is like any other Volvo out there, very similar in its design, which is not a bad thing, but it's time to look at an upgrade. I mean, this is an electric car, so I think that there should be some more uniqueness to it. But then again, some people appreciate that it feels like every other car in Volvo's lineup, apart from the powertrain. So that's, I mean, there are two sides of the story. There are some plastic, and there are different levels of this plastic, and there are lights here and here that illuminates and creates different levels, so it creates a 3D texture when it's dark out. Pretty nice feature, feels pretty plasticky, but it gives a nice look to it. Google's infotainment system, a digital dash. Being Google derived, it means that they have a lot of apps, and to be able to get any sort of distance information, how far you can drive, you need to download this range assistant. So here I have 65%, and it claims that I have 200 kilometers of range. Maximum is 300 kilometers, and minimum in this, if I maximize the temperature, it is 160. If I press the range optimizer, it will almost cut down or shut down the AC completely. The navigation works really well, as the whole Google infotainment system does, especially the voice command. So hey Google, navigera till Stockholm T-central. Works 10 times better than any other system on the market, and that is no exaggeration. But there comes times when it doesn't register hey Google, and even when I press to register what I say, it doesn't register anything. So that's pretty annoying, and it feels like I need to turn the car off and on again to reboot it. But still pretty annoying that it doesn't register. The car can charge up to 150 kilowatt. So I set the destination to a Circle K in Upplands Väsby. That is possible to charge up to 300 kilowatt. So no limitations from the charging side of things. So I set the destination to Circle K in Upplands Väsby. However, when I got there, the maximum charging speed that I could achieve was 80 kilowatt. The thing with the navigation is if you set the car to a destination or a charging destination, the car should preheat the battery. That's what I thought the system was doing. But since I didn't specifically say charging station, laddstation, it didn't preheat. A simple detail that after this I get used to it, but still I can imagine every buyer that buys an electric car that isn't used to this will just set the destination or just drive to a charging place and charge it and expect the 150 kilowatt, but will only get, for example, like me, 80 kilowatt. Volvo C40 on the highway. I can talk about the comfort. The car is fitted with all-year tires, specifically designed for the C40. And they do emit some vibrations through the cabin, but doesn't really affect the comfort of the car. What does affect the comfort is of course the springs. And daily driving, I think they are a bit too stiff, especially in the rear. And when you start to accelerate with those 408 horsepower and 660 newton meters, it doesn't hunker down, it doesn't get stiff. On the opposite, I think it gets light and floaty, and even in the stiffest steering feel, get no indication of what's happening underneath you. It is actually a bit scary how floaty this car becomes. I'm using the pilot assist right now, so it keeps me within the lines and it uses the active cruise control. I've set a set distance to have in front of the car, and right now with clear lines it does and a straight road, mind you, it does a fine job. If there's a hint of bad lines, or if there's an exit on the right, or an on-ramp that is passing, or a barrier on the side, it gets really nervous and can even do really stupid stuff. Here, where the lines aren't that solid, it starts to completely veer to the right. And especially here, it doesn't do anything, and it just thought I was going to crash. My confidence in this lane assist or pilot assist, even here, you can see it starts to veer to the left and then it just pulls to the right. You immediately know how you should apply the throttle to make a smooth acceleration, and the same with the brake. Really easy to read. The steering and the suspension tuning in general feels very Volvo. I felt very secure, and I've driven Volvos before and this felt very similar. Another thing that I thought was very weird is the phone charger. So it uses inductive charging, and now I have a standard case, and let's see if it connects. I have it here. Actually, I like that I have braces on the side so it can move about. Here it have registered it, but soon enough it will lose the connection, and that will happen if you have a case on it. So you need to remove the case to make the phone charge. Really unnecessary. They need to make it more powerful. The shape of the rear roof makes you have, I mean, it is supercar levels of bad visibility. So I actually mostly use the side view mirrors more than the rear. Finally, I need to compare the Volvo C40, and especially this approach of having dual engines and 400 horsepower. That is an interesting approach. It puts it in the upper echelon of horsepower in electric vehicles, in normal non-performance electric vehicles. The Ford Mustang Mach-E has about 360, the Kia EV6 and Ioniq 5 with the dual engine has 300 horsepower. The Jaguar I-Pace has about the same, 400 horsepower. The Model Y or Tesla Model Y Performance has 450. So definitely this is in the upper echelon. So why the 400 horsepower? It makes it difficult to make a fair comparison. The 230 horsepower front-end version makes it much easier to compare in terms of range, in terms of price, and in terms of horsepower, and in terms of size. With one of the worst claimed ranges versus price and horsepowers out there. And the C40 doesn't have a heat pump either, which makes the range during the winter suffer greatly. Finally, I think that this C40 lands somewhere in between the established premium brands, but since the likes of the Mach-E, the Ioniq 5, the EV6 and Model Y are heavy hitters in terms of all aspects, range, price and all of that, it does show that the C and XC40 are not built on a completely dedicated EV platform, and because of this they suffer. That's my final conclusion. Thank you for watching this review. Please like and subscribe and make a comment if you think that my conclusion was right, if you have any other questions or if you have any other conclusions. Thank you and see you next time.